Boxing, our beloved, yet arguably the most morally bankrupt sport out there. In recent days, high-profile fighter Chris EUBANK Jr. has called out the industry for its scumbaggery. But here's my take. If the sport is going to be morally adrift, then maybe it's best suited to be hosted in Saudi Arabia, a nation with its own controversial history. Let's break this down and expose the hypocrisy and double standards at play here. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to check out the free tips in the comments and description section. Now let's get into the video. Let's not mince words here. Boxing has been morally questionable for years, with Mike Tyson as its most iconic yet controversial figure. Tyson is a convicted rapist, yet he remains celebrated in the sport's lore. How is this possible? Because boxing has a remarkable ability to sweep its darkest moments under the rug. There are those who followed Tyson's case and argue about potential judicial flaws, but let's be real, most fans simply don't care. What other sport would take back a convicted rapist with open arms? The answer speaks volumes about boxing's moral fabric, or rather, the glaring lack of it. I'll admit it, I've been guilty of watching Tyson fight post-conviction. But why? Because boxing never made an effort to address the issue. His return was glorified, marketed, and sold as if his criminal past was irrelevant. The sport's media machinery thrives on hiding uncomfortable truths, making boxing the perfect playground for Saudi investment. It's all part of a culture that promotes moral flexibility for the sake of profit. Now, let's talk about Chris EUBANK Jr. In a recent press conference, he publicly called promoters Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn scumbags while in Saudi Arabia. EUBANK didn't lash out without reason. This was an eruption against a system that constantly exploits fighters. Following his outburst, Warren threatened to sue EUBANK for defamation, forcing EUBANK to retract his statements. This incident highlights the toxic relationships in boxing, where fighters, even those as high-profile as EUBANK, are often at the mercy of promoters and their power dynamics. EUBANK's retraction underscores the control promoters wield over the sport. This isn't just about money, it's about power. Even when fighters call out the industry's corruption, they're quickly pulled back into line. The promoters' actions illustrate the sport's ugly nature, where fighters are merely pawns in a game of profits and influence. Boxing's recent shift towards Saudi Arabia is telling. The country, known for its controversial human rights record, now serves as the perfect host for a sport that continually places profit over principles. Chris EUBANK Jr. is set to fight in Riyadh, despite his criticism of the sport's moral decay. Does it bother Saudi investors that EUBANK himself called the industry corrupt? Of course it does, so EUBANK Jr. will now toe the line and keep his mouth shut. Saudi Arabia's deep pockets offer the kind of financial clout that boxing promoters dream of, allowing them to stage massive events with total disregard for ethical considerations. In a sport that has long thrived on controversy and hidden agendas, Saudi investment feels like a match made in morally dubious heaven. Controversy sells in boxing. The sport has become a stage where fighters are encouraged to adopt antagonistic personas, fueling hype and ticket sales. Fighters are pushed into playing the villain, promoting a toxic culture that values controversy over skill and integrity. So, is boxing morally bankrupt? Absolutely. From ignoring Tyson's criminal past to promoting an environment that exploits fighters, boxing continually shows where its priorities lie: profits over principles. The recent outburst by EUBANK Jr. is a reminder that even those within the sport recognize its lack of moral decency. Saudi investment in boxing is merely a reflection of the sport's willingness to align itself with whoever offers the biggest paycheck, regardless of moral implications. But here's the thing. What does it say about us, the fans, who continue to tune in, knowing all this? Are we complicit in this morally bankrupt spectacle, or simply too enamored with the sport to care? Let me know what you think in the comments.